What should I make my next video about? I wonder. Huh?
Look.
Guess I'll make a video about the games of Lost. Alright, for everyone who just escaped their own island or maybe wasn't old enough to enjoy the spectacle when it first aired, Lost was an absolute behemoth in the world of pop culture, from its premiere in 2004 until its finale in 2010. Part Gilligan's Island, part X-Files, part J.J. Abrams' fever dream, Lost ran for 121 episodes across 6 insane seasons, and followed the island-bound survivors of Oceanic Flight 815 as they attempted to make their way back to civilization. Now, what does every successful show or movie need? Video game tie-ins, of course. Heck, Gilligan's Island had a game on the NES. So it's only fair that television's more modern island epic gets turned into a game as well. In fact, there were 2 official Lost games released. But let's take a look at the lesser-known Lost mobile game first. It was called Lost, the mobile game. Creativity was running high that day, huh? Anyhow, this pocket-sized adventure was developed and published by mobile gaming overlords Gameloft, a company started by Michel Guillemot, one of the co-founders of Ubisoft. Coincidentally, Ubisoft developed and published the other Lost game that we'll talk about later in this episode. But for now, Lost the mobile game was released for iPod and Java Micro Edition mobile phones on January 16, 2007, and it features events from seasons 1 through 3. The game begins at the Oceanic Flight 815 crash site. You play as the show's main hero, Jack, and your first order of business is finding injured passengers on the beach and using all of the life-saving techniques you practiced as a surgeon to deliver John Cena's attitude adjustment finishing maneuver to as many victims as possible. Once you've decimated almost everyone on the island, you talk to a few of the survivors who are fortunate enough not to be on the receiving end of your delirious berserker rage, and you decide you should all find some sustenance. So you begin roaming the jungle to look for fresh water, food, and assorted items requested by the people in your camp. Your basic mission-based gameplay loop. And it's honestly pretty darn fun for a 16-year-old mobile game inspired by a TV show, especially if you were a fan of the original program. You'll interact with a bunch of your favorite characters and visit plenty of familiar places. What's also cool is that there's some nice variety to the gameplay itself. Puzzling, seek and find, stealth, chase sequences, armed combat, exploration, and even boss battles. You can also do silly shit like get gored to death by one of the thousands of wild boar that you'll encounter, or intentionally explode your fellow survivors with dynamite. However, when it comes to danger, there's perhaps nothing more harrowing than escaping the other's candlelight circle jerk. After defeating the smoke monster and freeing your pals Kate and Sawyer from captivity, Gameloft teases us with an unfulfilled promise of to be continued. Look, Gameloft, you can't just put out the first few chapters of a curiously fun mobile game and then decide not to finish it.
Don't tell me what I can't do!
Yeah, that Lost mobile game wasn't too bad, huh?
Don't come! Don't come!
Grandpa Corn Miser?
What are you doing here? You hiding from the warthog like me?
No, I'm hiding from the smoke monster.
The smoke monster?
Find yourself some banyan trees.
Where am I gonna find some banyan trees? Oh, some banyan trees!
Okay, I mentioned Ubisoft earlier, so now let's take a gander at their offering, Lost Via Domus.
That's Latin. Means the way home. Very interesting.
Via Domus was released on Xbox 360, PS3, and PC back in February of 2008. And rather than having the player control a familiar favorite from the TV show, this game has you stepping into the role of a guy named Elliot Maslow, a brand new character who has to piece together the details of his identity after losing his memory in the plane crash. Elliot's story begins aboard Oceanic Flight 815, and we're quickly treated to some of the crash scene's greatest hits, like people being launched upwards into the top of the cabin, Kate's bloody FBI agent who got busted open the hard way with a briefcase, the plane snapping in half like a Slim Jim, and passengers who didn't buckle up being ripped out into the sky. You take control of Elliot after he wakes up in the middle of the jungle, and you're basically on rails until you run into Kate, which triggers the first memory sequence in the game. It's through these flashback mini-games that you unlock the clues to your past. First, you're shown a quick picture of a single moment in time. Then you have to look for that moment in the looping scenario that begins playing on repeat. Finally, you line up the shot with your camera, snap the photo, and the remaining portion of that memory falls into place, providing a bit more insight into the mystery of Elliot's backstory. Just like Lost's mobile game, the plane crash site is one of the first areas you'll visit in Via Domus. I think they recreated it pretty well, except for the drab colors and overcast look of the sky. In the show, there was a great contrast between the beautiful island and the horrors of the wreckage. The game lacks that detail and opts instead to make everything look dreary and somber, at least until a little later in the game when you do get to see the island looking a bit sexier. Hey, doesn't Elliot's character model and camera view kind of remind you of the game JP is working on in Grandma's Boy? That's what it reminds me of. Also, check this out. While you're trying to get your bearings, get used to the island, take in what's going on, talk to all the characters you see around you. Over there, Michael, he won't stop standing in the same spot screaming for his son Walt.
Come on, man!
Put some effort into your search. Imagine taking that approach when you misplace your car keys. Keys! 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 The game isn't awful though, but it's also not great. You're mostly running from place to place, talking to people, searching for items, and then finding other people to talk to. There's not a whole lot to it, but for fans of Lost, it'll be neat to interact with the characters and visit some of the show's more memorable locations. Also, while the story isn't canon, it was co-written by Lost executive producers Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse, and the chapters are presented episodically, complete with Lost cliffhanger endings and last time on Lost recaps when a new chapter begins. So it's got that going for it.
Which is nice.
What's not nice is when this game breaks away from the relaxed adventure game vibe it presents throughout 90% of the affair and throws in these complete shitburger segments that bring nothing to the table but frustration and agony. Like stupid-ass fuse box puzzles that not only require you to find a different number of fuses for each new fuse box you encounter, but these puzzles also bring to a complete halt whatever momentum you felt you had going. Additional nonsense to file under the horse shit category would be cave exploration, where every corridor looks exactly the same and you only find your way out by the grace of God. Smoke monster hide and seek, which forces you to hide inside banyan tree vestibules whenever the smoke monster is nearby.
Over here. I'm over here at the banyan trees.
And it's almost always nearby. I swear, during this portion of the game, there wasn't a single time I stepped out into the open confidently. It always sounds like the damn thing is right next to you.
Good luck.
And how could I forget the surprise deaths that seem to have been thrown in for no other reason than to fuck with the player? Here's one from when you first hit the beach. Walk too close to this particular engine, and you're blown up. Run too many steps with dynamite in your book bag? Kaboom! Cross the invisible fence that you're given this vague warning about.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, Elliot.
Just know that Elliot escapes the island with the help of John Locke. And as he's sailing off into the sunset, what does he see overhead? The very plane explosion that brought him to the island in the first place.
Nice and safe.
You blew it. Capiche?
Well, we may have covered both official Lost games, but we're not done yet. I went digging around the web a bit in search of Lost fan games, and while I was surprised by the disturbing lack of noteworthy efforts, I did find one worth mentioning. The Lost Island in Minecraft Bedrock Edition, which means this map only works on console, mobile, and Windows, and is not fully compatible with Minecraft Java Edition. The creator plans to release a Java version in the future, but hasn't done so as of September 2023. So keep checking. Anywho, what we've got here defines labor of love. User _null on planetminecraft.com spent nearly a decade trying, failing, and trying again to bring the Lost Island to life in the world of Minecraft. Null took heavy inspiration from an earlier attempt by MinecraftForum.net member Prof_Snape and used Snape's map shape as a guide before completely rebuilding and updating 51 different locations from the show with an impressive degree of detail. When you load up the map for the first time, you're actually flying aboard Oceanic Flight 815, and you're free to walk around the cabin until the turbulence hits, and then you come to in the middle of the island's jungle. From there, you're on your own, and you're free to explore the vastness laid out before you. If you'd like, you can follow the old familiar story and try navigating your way to the crash site, or you can simply begin searching for your favorite locations from the TV show. What's really cool about this version of the island is that unlike the mobile game or Via Domus, there are no guardrails keeping you on a predetermined path. And if you want to find your way around, you have to use the terrain and assorted landmarks to your advantage. Now, I only explored a small portion of this humongous map, but I didn't want to stop playing. I only did because this video needed to get done. If I had unlimited time, however, I could easily sink hours and hours into the exploration of this very impressively crafted world. If you're a huge fan of the Lost series and looking for one Lost game to play, this is the one I'd recommend. Pretty crazy that one fan with a passion for Lost and Minecraft was able to provide a more definitive Lost experience than two juggernauts like Gameloft and Ubisoft. If you have the means, definitely check this one out.
We've been waiting for you.
To find out what happens next, and for a brand new review, click here!